Hi scholars, this is our last day looking at killer whales or orcas. And we're going to be doing some more reading about them today. Today we're going to be learning about how these killer whales communicate and how they grow up in something called a pod. So let's go ahead and get started with our reading today. We're going to start by looking at a few pages of our book from our book Killer Whales. We're going to start today on chapter 3, The Wonders of Whales. Killer whales, or orcas, are very social animals. Most live in family groups called pods. Pods can have as few as 2 or as many as 100 members. Members of the pod hunt together, feed together, and play together. So as I'm reading about this term pods, I'm thinking that a pod sounds just like a family group, but for whales. So our family, like a mom, a dad, and their children, we call those families, but for killer whales, we call them pods. The leader of a pod is usually the oldest female. The pod is built around this female and her offspring or children. Orca family bonds are very strong. Offspring often stay with their mothers even after they are fully grown. It isn't unusual for an orca pod to contain 4 generations of related whales. So when it says 4 generations, this keyword generations is talking about different ages of the family. So 4 generations would be like a mama having a baby, and then that baby having a baby, and then that baby having another baby. And that would be 4 different generations, 4 different whales that have had babies. Killer whales live a long time in the wild. Males usually live for about 30 years, but some live as long as 50 or 60 years. Females usually live to be about 50 years old, but some have been known to live for more than 80 years. These older females have a lot of experience surviving in the ocean. They pass along their knowledge to the rest of the pod. And our next heading says growing up in the pod. Female orcas give birth to 1 calf at a time. So that's what they call their baby whales. A newborn orca calf weighs about 400 pounds and is about 8 feet long. Orca calves are usually born tail first. As soon as a newborn calf slips into the water, its mother pushes it up to the surface so it can breathe. Then the calf starts to drink its mother's rich, creamy milk. This milk helps the calf build up a thick layer of blubber so it can stay warm in the cold water. The calf continues to drink its mother's milk for up to 2 years. During this time, it rarely leaves its mother's side. As the calf grows, other members of the pod teach it hunting and swimming skills and play with it. An orca pod is a big group of sisters, brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. These family members all take care of each other. Ooh, and this text feature down here is showing us a cool, fun fact. A newborn killer whale is bigger than a refrigerator. Oh my goodness. And here's our next heading. Communication is everything. Killer whales communicate with each other using a variety of sounds, including clicks, whistles, and squeaks. Each pod has its own special set of sounds. The orcas can recognize their family members calling from miles away. An orca calf must be taught how to communicate with the other members of its pod. The calf listens to its mother and imitates the sounds she makes. Soon, it can make the same noises as adult orcas. So just like babies, just like human babies learn how to talk from listening to their mom and dad or their brother and sister, these baby calves are learning how to make the sounds to communicate with their pod by listening to the adult whales when they're really little. Killer whales also communicate with orcas outside of their own pods. Some pods are related to other pods, much like humans have cousins and other extended family members. These related pods sometimes hunt or travel together. They communicate using similar sounds. This means killer whales that live in related pods can understand each other. Killer whales also communicate using body language. Mothers and calves nuzzle each other often. Adults rub and roll against each other as they swim. Touching in this way helps pod members stay closely connected to one another. So, today we learned about how these whales live in their pods and how they communicate with one another. For your writing today, you're going to be thinking about those two things. And if you need some more text evidence, you can go back and listen to this video again. Maybe keep a piece of paper by you so you can write down some important things that you want to remember for your writing today.